Welcome to Peaking to Success, the podcast that delves deep into our guest success stories, the highs, the lows, the lessons learned, and if there's any exciting future plans lined up. Talking about future plans, Peaking into Success is proudly supported by Peak Wills and Estate Planning. We're here to support you with any future planning. Long gone are the times of solicitors in suits and ties and dark rooms and outdated practices. We are proud to offer a fresh and dynamic approach to the stuffy old world of wills, changing the way we talk about what happens when we die. But that's enough talk about death on a podcast introduction. It's time to pass you over to Peaking into Success host, Mr. Adam Kahn. Whose success are we peeking into this episode, Adam?
Thanks, Sam. Today we have on a musician, singer-songwriter that has come onto the scenes recently, who gives a different style of country and is an amazingly talented man. We have on Christian Larsmon.
Want to know what's happening within Derby's black community? Or perhaps you have a story of your own to share? Then look no further than Majatu, your one-stop source for local African and Caribbean news. With our digital news platform and quarterly print magazine, keep up to date on all of the latest in arts, entertainment, food, sports, and more. Find us online at mojatu.com.
Hi, Christian. How are we today?
Yeah, good, Adam. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. I mean, I kind of heard you through Instagram, if that makes sense. I've heard like a reel or two, and then I was kind of like, who is this guy? So I kind of further investigated before messaging you. So I know I've listened to your music and kind of got a feel of who you are musically. So, I mean, I feel like the people that are listening should get to know your story and get to hopefully listen to you as well. So, for anyone that doesn't know who you are, how would you sum yourself up, maybe personality-wise, as well as what you do as a career in a nutshell?
Yeah, gosh. So, I mean, I would consider myself to be an Americana alt country rock artist. And I would have probably only defined myself as that within the last couple of years when I started focusing on creating and releasing my own music. I've been a musician for, well, really since I picked up a guitar aged 11, when my mum taught me the chords to House of the Rising Sun, and I got obsessed with guitar and learning songs. And I've been in bands and stuff, you know, growing up as a teenager and as an adult. And then, doing my own music, I've only really focused on properly over the last couple of years. And the story behind, so I just released an EP called Dark Before the Dawn. And the story behind that is kind of based on my experience of hitting a rock bottom in life, and, you know, getting help and coming out the other side of it stronger to sort of tell the tale, really. So it's meant to be really what the idea behind the project is to kind of be an inspiring piece of work to kind of lift people out of any particularly challenging or difficult life situation that they've been in. And I think all of the songs on there really kind of do that to some degree. It seems to be my almost my niche in terms of the style of songs that I write, which was kind of unintentional, really, but it just seems to be currently what I'm drawn to writing, and I feel like it has an impact. You know, what I want to do is have a positive impact on my music. So, you know, when I play a gig and someone goes, "I love that song," you know, I'm going through something at the moment, and that really resonates with me. That to me is, you know, that's the gold, really. And it shows me that I'm doing something right. So that's, I guess, what I'm about at the moment. That might evolve in the future, but for now, that's kind of where I'm at.
It's interesting how you described your EP, because the next question I was going to ask you is, who do you liken yourself to? Because I've got the kind of image when I listen to you of if Adele was acoustic and a male. I don't know if you'd agree with that. Kind of like the words that you're singing resonate and can resonate to people in different ways, but it's not like the words aren't all happy. It's kind of like, I think they're thought provoking and they're deeper in their meaning. So, firstly, who would you liken yourself to? And when you're writing, does that come naturally, the lyrics to you, or is it more you're trying to take yourself back to the place where you want to write about, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does. Well, thanks for the. Comparing myself to Adele is very flattering. So, but as far as writing is concerned, with lyrics, it takes me a while, to get lyrics down that I'm happy with, because I do really think about them, and I'm always actually quite envious of writers that, and I have done co-writes, some of which feature on the EP, who can literally just spit out a load of words that make sense, and you're like, wow, how did you do that? I have to really think about it, and I've done some courses over the years which have really helped me with how to structure. It's a bit of an art form, really, structuring a commercial song, and I generally try to start with, what is the song about? What if I was to sum up what the song is about in 2 sentences? What is it? So I'll start there, and then I'll try and build a chorus around that, because that's what the chorus is really about. That's you want to sum up the meaning of the song, and then once I've got that down, trying to paint a picture of some sort of story in the verses that makes sense. And then you've also got a bridge in a song. That's the bit which takes you away kind of from the melodies of the verse and the chorus, takes you on a bit of another journey, and that's quite fun because you can start talking about something entirely different from what the song's actually about, take you on a bit of a journey. So that's, yeah. So it's fun. It can be painstaking sometimes, and you have to kind of stop yourself from being too much of a perfectionist as well, because that's the killer of getting anything done. As I'm sure you can probably appreciate, having a podcast. You could, I don't know, until the cows come home and say, oh, I need this and I need that, and then you just don't end up releasing an episode because you haven't got that special mic or that guest or whatever. So I've also tried to have the mindset of look, that's good enough, and getting it out. And I think especially when you have a goal, which I did this year, which was to get that EP out, not being overly perfectionist was important, to make sure that I stuck to my word of getting the EP out, and that's what I wanted to do this year.
And I mean, with how you said about, of course, making sure you weren't a perfectionist, and kind of that kind of journey you've taken to kind of change who you are as an artist, to make sure everything's not 100% in quotes. Do you think, of course, from releasing your first single to now, your kind of mindset has changed a lot? So with, of course, maybe the music that you're producing, has that got better? But also, of course, your mindset of creating a song, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it will have definitely improved, because before I released this EP, I could write songs, but I never really had a structure or a formula, and I was finding myself not finishing songs as well, which I think was partly because I didn't have that structure. So I really made it my kind of duty to kind of find out, using resources like doing courses, going on retreats, to learn. Because I was actually kind of getting a bit annoyed that I was like, I've got a voice, I can play an instrument, I can write, but I'm not finishing these songs. So learning about the structure, the actual sort of art of songwriting, or commercial songwriting, should I say, would be a better way of describing it, was a good starting point. And then, I think just through having done the EP now, there are things that I've definitely learned from it. Things that, if I were to do that EP again, there might be one or two things I would change, just to kind of maybe simplify things a bit more and not, overcomplicate things. I think that's a really key thing now to songwriting, is like, it's very tempting, especially if you're a really good musician, to overcomplicate things. And actually, people just want simple, 3 or 4 chords max, a good hook, something that's catchy, something that they might listen to in their car. I'm trying more to think about when I'm writing, like, where might this person be listening to it? Like, a lot of people that have listened to the EP, for example, have been like, oh, it's really good for driving. When I'm driving my car and like in the morning on the way to work, it kind of lifts me up. And I didn't think about that when I wrote it, but that's the feedback that I got, and I was like, oh, that's cool. So it's made me think, right, so moving forward when I'm writing music, thinking about where might the listener be listening to this music. It's always coming. I think the sweet spot is like writing from personal experience, but making whatever you're saying a universal experience that everybody will be able to relate to in their own way. Because you don't want to be overly personal, because then it's like, okay, it's a little bit self-indulgent. I don't really get where you're coming from. You need to like make it so that everyone can get it and click into it,
100%. And I mean, with how you said about the driving, I was like listening to what you were saying, and I was like, yeah, I could imagine your songs just as you're going to work. So I like that people have kind of associated your songs with kind of a task they have to do on a day-to-day basis. With, of course, the EP coming out, have you done anything around the launch? So have you been gigging? Is that something that you're going to do in the future? Because I know, of course, originally you kind of did covers, didn't you, and released an album all around covers. So is the kind of transition that these songs, have they been played live yet, or is there kind of a gig or something you're going to do around, of course, the EP now being out?
Yeah, so I have done a few gigs since releasing the EP. I actually organised an EP launch at the Bedford in Balham, because I went there, I performed there earlier on in the year, and I loved the venue. I don't know if you know it. It's basically like it's almost like this old. It's very famous for. They've had loads of famous comedians perform there. Ed Sheeran he performed there. Paolo Nutini performed there, and they just continue to run music nights there every week. And it's almost like this old theatre. So I was like, yeah, that'd be a good spot to do the launch of the EP. So I did all my songs with a full live band, which was a really in terms of like career highlight, if you like. That felt really cool to sort of have a vision in my mind of getting this EP out and like having it be performed with a band. These songs started on an acoustic guitar mainly. Just me plus 1 or 2 other songwriters and an acoustic guitar. So when you see that then translate into like a full band production and a full band on stage, it's really cool to do that. And and I'm going to continue. I've got some gigs. Coming up. I've got one at the Piano Smithfield in Barbican on the 17th of January. So I'll be doing stuff from the EP there. I think I'm also going to do some acoustic versions of the tracks because, as I say, currently all of the tracks are kind of full band, drums, bass, guitar, the whole works. So I want to do some acoustic versions of the songs as well. And that was just based on feedback on a gig that I did recently up in Brightlingsea, which is sort of near Colchester. And, somebody said, "Oh, I want to buy an EP." And I explained to them, "Yeah, please do. It's full band stuff." And he was like, "Oh, you should definitely do acoustic stuff for the CD as well." So, yeah, I think I'm going to do that, try and get that done before the end of the year. And then, get that up on Spotify as well. It's nice to be able to have the option of performing the songs acoustically and with a band, because I can't always get the band together. The musicians that I work with usually are, their fingers in different pies. They might be a producer already, or they have other bands, other projects that they work on. So it's nice to be able to go, okay, well, if I can't get a band together for this, I'll just do it on my own. So, yeah.
And then that's good that you're able to, of course, be flexible like that. Is, of course, say for some people that are just a singer, they've got to kind of rely on maybe a backing track or a band where you're being proactive with your flexibility and being like, yeah, I can release the songs again acoustically, I can perform them acoustically or with a band. That's giving you more depth as an artist, because more people maybe are like, oh, we've only got a small venue or a small space to perform. You can then utilise that and be more flexible, which a lot of artists nowadays struggle to do because they're not, say, multi-instrumental, I guess, with their talent. So they may just have the voice, or they may be able to play an instrument. But a lot of people nowadays kind of rely on backing tracks or bands. So you being able to do that is kind of a blessing for yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely helpful. And actually sometimes I really enjoy playing on my own. It's something about it, and I think based on the feedback I've received on performing live, some people sort of prefer it because of the nature of the songs and the depth of the lyrics and stuff like that. Some people just prefer it, to have that stripped back sound, and it's definitely more intimate that way as well, especially, as you say, for those smaller venues. So yeah, no, definitely, it's nice to have options. I was really inspired by Ray LaMontagne because he's I don't know if you know him. He's a very famous kind of country singer-songwriter, and he's able to do that as well. He'll sometimes play on his own. He'll sometimes have a bass player with him. He'll sometimes have a band. And it's nice to have the option depending on the occasion. So yeah.
No, 100%. And I mean, from this EP coming out, and of course you've said you've got a couple of gigs lined up, what is then your goal for 2024? So of course your goal for 2023 was, of course, the EP. What's kind of your building block from there for 2024?
So there's I'd say a couple. One of them is I want to showcase my stuff in America. So I plan to go to Nashville in the new year, and I want to get out there for as long as I possibly can to play my stuff at open mics, and if I can get some proper gigs as well out there, that'd be great. Because I think that's where my music sits really in terms of genre. Nashville is the home of Americana, country, kind of rock music. So that would be one of them. I'm waiting for. I'm going to be selling the vinyl version of my EP. I'm just waiting for that currently it's in production at the moment. So I'm going to have those available, and I'll be selling them at my gigs in the UK, and I'll be obviously taking some of those over to the US. I've also got a new kind of more country-focused project called Pulling Strings, which is myself and an artist called Starry Ray. Kind of like a duo thing. I've posted a couple of things on my Instagram, actually, videos of us performing together. So we want to see where that one goes as well. She also loves Nashville and has connections and friends out there. So, I met some of them. I was in Nashville earlier this year, only for a week, and she knows some incredible new musicians who I'm very excited by the prospect of working with those guys. You know, they play instruments that a lot of people probably wouldn't even heard of. I haven't even heard of them until I went out there. There's this incredible instrument called a pedal steel, which is like, it's almost like a guitar on its back, and you have to use your feet to like change the tension of the strings, and you use like a slider thing on your hand, and it is apparently it's one of the hardest instruments in the world to learn. But if you listen to enough country music, it features on it on a lot of songs, and you'll know what it is eventually. So I'm hoping we'll get some of that pedal steel on some of our music. So the goal with Pulling Strings is to release an album in the new year.
Nice.
So we've already started work on that. We're already writing. And yeah, it's just a case of haven't set a deadline as to when we're going to get that released yet. That's something we need to talk about. But I don't think I want to rush it necessarily. Well, I don't want to say rush. Dark Before the Dawn wasn't rushed, but it was definitely, I put myself under a certain amount of pressure to get it done, whereas I don't necessarily want to do that with this project as much. But I certainly would like to have got it recorded by the end of the year. It might not be released until 2025 though.
No, that's fair enough. And I mean,
in the background, I'm going to continue releasing my own music, just singles and stuff. I'm not necessarily going to release another thing straight away. I think I need to continue promoting the EP that I've already got with gigging. You know, if I feel like releasing a single, I will. That's the kind of tact I'm going to take for next year.
But that's the joy of being independent as an artist. You can release music and perform music and record music at your own kind of pace and not feel the pressure of, I need to release it because they want me to release it. It's kind of on your terms, and how you want to promote it is how you promote it, which is kind of best, because that could potentially change your sound if you were under a label or something. So I think it's better for independent artists to keep their own style and their own kind of sound, instead of trying to, a lot of people think, I need a label and then I can become big, whereas a lot of independent artists at the moment, especially I'm from Derby and around the East Midlands, they're kind of thriving at the moment, and kind of every night there's someone playing, because they've all been independent and doing it off their own backs. And as you said, you're going to go to Nashville and kind of play there and kind of get around and meet kind of other independent artists, and that just shows the kind of freedom you have to kind of expand at your rate, which for you're seeking and going to a place which your sound is probably more valued than over here, which I respect, because you're understanding what you need to do to get your music heard more, which a lot of people just think, I've released that song, I'll gig around locally, that's it. But you're pushing the boundaries and going further, and I respect that you're doing that, because of course with that mentality, you're going to go further naturally.
Yeah, I think you have to. You have to kind of. It took me a little while to kind of establish. Okay, what is my genre, and where is my audience, and who is my community? There is an Americana country scene, a very very small one, but it does exist in London. And the guys that organise Country in the Afternoon, they do a few gigs each year, which I've got a slot in May with them. And there's Country to Country Festival that comes over here, which is showcasing a lot of American country artists. It's definitely getting more interest and more press. I mean, the thing is, the last thing I want to do is I'm not going to bend myself to sound like, fair play to anyone that does it, but I'm not going to start singing in a southern drawl, and I'm not really interested in trying to sound like somebody else, which, as you say, that you run the risk of having that if you sign to a major label, but equally finding your genre based on what the general public believes that you are is useful, because it helps you in terms of how you market yourself and who to target, and it's just the way that people want to put things in a box naturally, not in a bad way, just they do. But but the way I describe my music, it's difficult to define it really. But my tagline on Instagram is, if Springsteen, Luke Combs, and Cat Stevens had a baby, like that's all I don't really know how else to describe it. But subgenre Americana, alt country rock. I mean, you run the risk of sounding a bit, I don't know, you don't want to sound too pretentious when it comes to this stuff, but it can be difficult sometimes to define what you are really.
No, 100%. And I mean, I think you're doing an amazing way of kind of showing your distinct area. Like, I went into it and thought, it might just be kind of countrified, being completely honest. But of course, listening to it, I was like, yeah, that's not like what I expected, if that makes sense. I'm not a professional in Americana or that kind of scene, and kind of knowing the difference, like, I could tell the difference between a country song and your song now, and they are completely different. So now you've opened my eyes to the scene and kind of made me want to learn more about it. So that's thanks to you that I kind of found that new genre, let's say. But of course, you've got to keep doing what you're doing, and I'm liking, hopefully, to follow this journey from now. What I was going to ask you next is, of course, I may know the answer, could be the EP, but what is kind of your biggest achievement to date with the whole music career?
Well, I was thinking about this question and sort of struggling to decide what it might be. I was really proud of the launch that I did around the EP, because it was a really good night. Getting people, the reception that I got when I was playing my songs was really special. I could tell people were enjoying it, and it was just kind of, there are certain things in an artist's career, I think, that you do which makes you go, yeah, this is worth the effort. This is worthwhile, because it takes a lot of money, takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy. takes sometimes playing gigs with barely anybody there, and there are certain times you do stuff and you're like, yeah, it's worth the effort, because sometimes there are times where you're like, is there really much point to this? Honestly, because there are certain sacrifices you have to make along the way with it as well, because of the amount of time you're putting into it around, in my case, a day job. There are certain things like maybe you don't have as much of a social life, and you sort of start questioning, is it really, am I missing out on some things here? But it's really, any artist I'm sure will tell you, whether they're doing it all of the time or from time to time, it's a very difficult thing to stop doing. So yeah, I think that was definitely a milestone. That was definitely a career highlight. And as I say, sometimes just having one person come up to you at the end of a gig just to go, that song really resonates with me, thank you so much. That means the world to me as an artist, because it shows me that this is actually having a positive impact on the lives of other people, and that's what it's all about, really. Music is obviously a form of self-expression for me, but it's also an act of service. That's the way I see it. I sort of I found spirituality kind of about, again, if you like, sort of 6 years ago, after hitting my rock bottom, as I described, and I wanted to channel that really into this project, and to ultimately, with the ultimate goal of helping other people. So as long as it's doing that, and I get that feedback, I'm just gonna keep doing it.
No, perfect. I like that you kind of honed your high into wanting to help other people, and it's not being like an individual accomplishment. That means, of course, as an artist, you're not focused on, I just want to make it big. You're kind of wanting to make sure your music is helping others, which, if it's helping others, of course it's
gonna. There's no doubt, we've all got, whether when you're creating something, right, you want it to reach as many people as possible. There is an element of ego involved in it. I'm not going to lie to you. Obviously, I want the best gigs, and I want to be performing in front of loads of people, and I want loads of people to be listening to my music. I want loads of people to like my music. There's no doubt about it. But I think that goes the same for anyone that's creating anything. Even if it's a podcast. I think of like Jay Shetty, for example, who I'm sure you know and like. I don't know if you like him, but what he's doing is an act of service. With those interviews that he's doing, but he doesn't deny that he doesn't want billions of people to be touched by what he's doing, by his mission, if you like. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If it's having a positive influence and impact on the lives of other people, whether it's podcast, music, art, whatever it might be, I think it's a great thing, and it kind of gives you something to work towards. It gives you a goal, to work towards as well. So I think we're sort of goal-driven creatures, aren't we? We want to have something.
Always looking on to the next thing, aren't we?
Yes, but it's really important to think. It's also really important to enjoy the journey and be grateful for like the little wins along the way, and that's the perspective that I'm trying to keep as I go through this, rather than the compare and despair thing. Comparing myself to other people or feeling like I'm not where I should be yet, and because it's all comparison is the thief of joy, and it's all nonsense, really. It's really funny, actually, because, you know, Spotify does the Spotify Wrapped thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, artists have all been posting their Spotify for Artists Wrapped, where it gives you the streaming numbers and how many downloads and how many saves and stuff. And I could see how people, like, I couldn't believe it, right? So there was somebody that posted something, and they had in a year, they had like 7.2 million streams, right, on their music. Independent as well, I'm pretty sure. And their post was like, oh yeah, you know, I wasn't sure whether I was going to post this because, you know, my ego wasn't sure, you know, I was comparing myself to other artists, and I was just like, what? Where's the perspective? Like, 7.2 million streams of your music. Like, that is absolutely mind-boggling. But you hear about this, don't you, with people that, you know, they become a millionaire and then they become a billionaire, and they, you know, and they're never satisfied, really, because they're always comparing themselves to other people around them.
This is it.
So, you know,
I don't know when it'll end, unfortunately. That's it, isn't it? People don't enjoy the journey, and I think I was culprit of that at the beginning of this. I was like, being like, oh, I've recorded it, I want to get it out, and kind of, as said in the beginning, one of the things I wrote down when I was kind of planning it all was every Wednesday I'll release it, but then Wednesday was getting to, I'll do Wednesday and Friday, or I'll do like 3 episodes in a week, whereas now I've turned it back to 1. I'm seeing that people are watching the episode more because, of course, they're not like, oh, I've got this, and there's too much of a backlog to catch up on. It's like, say, for example, on TV, I'm a Celebrities on every night. People can't keep up with it, and then they're always trying to catch up, then they give up. It's like the soaps as well, whereas now I'm like, doing 1 episode, people are watching that episode more if they know the person or not, because they're like, I don't need to catch up, and I'm just picking the people I know to listen to. So I've noticed, yeah, don't push too far ahead, and yeah, I've got the episode and I'm really excited to release it and just get out there, but toning it down, more people are listening to it. So that's the same with music, I assume, with if you don't bombard people with loads of songs, and as you are, you've released in the singles and then you've released the EP of all of them, people are then enjoying it more and probably listening to it more because they're not loads in your face all at once.
Yes, yeah, that is something that I've learned to be important. You know, because you want, you know, the sort of impatient, which I am incredibly, version of me is, you know, I want everyone to hear everything that I'm doing, you know, rather than focusing on here's a single, you know, just listen to this single for a bit. And so I think being smart about it, strategic about it, if you like, is a good thing. And it's always thinking about, it's not, the more you think about the listener or the audience rather than your head and yourself, the better off you're going to be, you know. So, yeah, I think what you've done there, you know, drilling it down to 1 a week makes a lot of sense.
No, 100%. And it's just, you reap the rewards in other ways, don't you? More people feedback, more people are taking the time to listen to that one, so it's better. Is there, of course, we've spoken about your biggest achievement in your mind. Is there something in your career that's kind of defined you? So it might have defined you as a person or either as an artist to kind of maybe better yourself or change your lane in the music industry?
That's a really good question. I think surrounding yourself with people that inspire you is really important. So, I met Starry Ray, who's part of my new project, Pulling Strings. She's been an artist in her own right for years and has won multiple awards and released a lot of music and knows a lot of amazing musicians. And I think being around those types of people, learning from them, being inspired by them, is a really important thing to do if you want to evolve. Having that kind of mentorship, if you like, that's something that I've kind of craved a bit. Is because it can be quite a lonely journey. I think every artist ultimately wants to have a team of people that are around them that believes in them and knows what they're doing, and trust and people you can trust. So I feel like I'm doing that and kind of building that. I've met some great people along the way, whether it's songwriters, producers. I'll shout out Leah G, actually, who kind of coached me when I was releasing my music, because I didn't know what I was doing. So definitely, I would say to any musician, new artist definitely on the scene, is like, obviously you are a musician, you create amazing music, but if you want to take this seriously, you need to get help, like ask questions, get help from other people that inspire you. If that means paying a bit of money towards coaching or like whatever it might be, then it's worth doing that, investing in yourself. And I'm going to continue doing that. If I feel like the opportunity is right, I'm going to continue investing in myself around my music.
Yeah, people, as you said, a lot of people are scared when they're kind of going into a kind of unknown, let's say, to put in money themselves to kind of hopefully reap the rewards later on. And you saying actively that, yeah, you put your hand in your pocket and put some on, but it benefited you. A lot more people should do that. You're better for getting that help or spending that bit of money, where in the long term you could have spent more money on studio time or having to pay the band to play for you in the studio again and again and again, by just having that bit of money given to someone to be like, yeah, that's good, that's not good, you could improve by doing this. So now I respect that you're not trying to be a lone soldier, you're seeking the help of others, which a lot of people are reluctant to do nowadays.
Yeah. But you've got to be smart with it, because you could throw a lot of money, throwing money at things which maybe don't require it. So there might be certain things that you can do yourself. If you want, one thing for example, like production skills, I know for a fact that if I brushed up on those, I would save a lot of money because I pay a producer an hourly rate to go in their studio, and sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, if only I just knew more about this, then but at the same time, I kind of like not doing it myself and having another ear on it and not having to worry about that. And also it's an excuse for me to like leave my flat and go somewhere else, and so it depends what it's depends what's important to you, really, what you're willing to kind of part ways with. But I think, as well as you say, like for artists, like relinquishing a level of control can be scary.
Yeah.
And it's important, it's important that you're working with the right people that get you, for sure. So don't just work with I've heard horror stories of producers that, you know, just do whatever they want because they've got this big ego and they think that, well, we'll do it my way. I mean, that's not what you want, is it? You know, you want to work with somebody that gets your sound. And it's like any business. If you want to start a business, you want to build a team, don't you? You want the sales guy, you want the marketing guy, you want the operations person, but it's got to be the right people. Yeah. So I think part of that's going to be trial and error. Just be like, take your time, be careful. You might make mistakes along the way. You might even get stung along the way, but then you know better for next time. So it's all part of the journey, really.
No, 100%, and that is why it is. It is a journey, and mess ups happen, low points happen, high points happen, and you've said that all perfectly. We're going to kind of go. I know that you thought and put a lot of kind of effort and kind of thought of lows and kind of high points in your life already, but is there one piece of advice that you would give your younger self looking back now?
100%, yeah. The advice I'd give my younger self would be believe in yourself, listen to your gut, and do what you know to believe is right. One thing I did when I was a kid was, I think, as I'm sure a lot of young people do, was I cared a bit too much about what my parents thought or like what my friends thought. And I think I shrunk myself down a little bit too much. Ultimately I knew I had this gift and talent, but I wasn't really doing enough with it. So if you know you've got that thing, and you enjoy it, do something with it. I don't necessarily mean you have to make it your full-time career, but you never know, like what might happen if you really kind of put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, and remember as well, everyone's got an opinion. Not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay. Really important. Don't let one person's opinion of you that doesn't like you affect you. Don't let one comment on an Instagram post affect you. Don't even respond to those types of people, because ultimately, those people are very, very sad individuals who just are very jealous of your talent and your success. So just do you, and don't worry about people hating on you as well. That'd be my advice.
Nice. I like that. And of course, starting on from the advice that you give yourself, is there anything that you do differently if you could go back to that point of your younger self? So they're kind of to push the process on quicker with kind of getting into the industry.
It's difficult. I might not have bothered with. I would have liked to have studied music technology. I wish I'd done that a bit earlier. It's never too late. I'm just being lazy, so I could start now. But maybe that. And I might not have gone to university for 3 years to do a sports marketing degree. I did have a good time though. It was fun, but in hindsight, I probably could have saved a bit of time there and kind of done a bit more. Maybe gone to a music college or something like that. But even then, I personally believe, like, as a musician, getting too wrapped up in studying. If you really want to be a musician, get out and play as much as possible. Go and do that. Go and play gigs. And don't necessarily convince yourself that you need to know, all the theory and all that kind of stuff. So, just play as much as possible would be my advice.
No, nice. We're going to do some quick fire questions now. So, of course, I've not kind of pre-planned you on any of this, but I believe that you'd be able to answer them all easily, and you should have something in mind when I ask it. So my first one is the best venue that you played at.
My favourite best venue is the Bedford in Balham.
Nice. Is there any particular reason behind that?
It's just that it's a really old venue that hasn't changed that much since its first creation. It's got a great stage. It's all dark. I love the aesthetics of it. It's dark wood, all the furniture and the balcony, and I just love the look of it, and I love the stage, and it's cool.
Nice. Is there a dream venue that you'd want to play at?
Green venue.
Okay, I've never heard of that.
Did you say what venue?
Oh, dream venue. Sorry.
Oh, dream. Venue, sorry, we said green venue. Dream venue. I want to headline like the O2 Arena.
Nice.
Like ultimately, I want to be playing stadiums, so that would be a dream.
Nice. And following on from that, so say we get to this dream venue with the O2, if you could pick 3 artists to support you to headline a gig at the O2, who are you choosing?
Blimey. I would pick Oh My Empress, she, aka Sarah Shevlin. I would pick. Who else would I pick? Luke White. I'd pick Luke White because he's a fantastic singer-songwriter. I had him do my EP launch. And maybe Alex Hopkins as well. He's another young singer-songwriter. Fantastic singer. Yeah, do go check those guys out because they're all brilliant.
No, nice. I like that. Okay, going more kind of guilty pleasure. So, say you've rocked up at the pub, and they make you sing a karaoke song. Of course, you've done covers in the past. So, what would you choose as that karaoke song to perform?
Do you know what? I actually quite like I might do a John Legend, All of Me, if I'm feeling ballady. I'll go for something like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's different. Are you putting your own spin on it, or are you just going straight, sticking to the karaoke?
It's got my own little spin on it. Yeah.
Nice.
I sometimes used to play that live when I was doing acoustic covers. I'd do a little kind of acoustic cover version of that.
That's nice.
But we've got our work karaoke next week, so my colleague wants to do Gangster's Paradise. He's going to do the rap, and I'm going to do the singing. So that should be fun.
No, that'll be good. This might take a little more thought than the other ones, but if you had to sum up yourself in one song, so if people wondered, what is Christian like, maybe personality wise, what song would you tell them to listen to sum you up?
terms of my songs, I'd say the title track, Dark Before the Dawn, is probably quite a good one, because I'd say, like, as I say, like, in terms of who I am, as kind of just sum myself up, is that I'm somebody that's gone through some stuff, and as a result, I can kind of, I have kindness and compassion towards other people that might be going through some stuff, and I think that song captures that, but it also captures someone that's strong and has a lot of passion as well. Like, my thing is like big, strong, catchy choruses, which want, you know, my desire is to make other people feel motivated, inspired, and to feel good. And that has to come from a place of strength myself. And I feel like I've definitely become a lot stronger as a result of the stuff that I've been through. So, yeah, compassion, kindness, strength, hopefully a sense of humour as well. I think my EP doesn't necessarily convey humour. It's quite, as you probably established listening to it, it's quite a lot of like darker stuff, depth to it.
Yeah.
But I do like having a laugh, and I do like to try not to take myself too seriously as well. You know, and I need to have people in my life that take the mickey out of me as well. So that's important.
No, I like that. I like that you've kind of you've done my job for me. Like, you've summed yourself up in the song and given the reasons why. So no, I respect that, and it's nice that you've used that song and kind of shown that you as an artist put yourself into your songs and your experiences. So that's good. The last question I've got for you is that, and we can link this to Nashville a bit as well. So, of course, if you had some people come over from Nashville to England and you can show them one place and it's kind of your gem, and it's maybe where you go to kind of be alone, or somewhere that you think, this is amazing, I want to show people, maybe there isn't a known landmark or a known place for people to go, where would you take them?
Love that. Somewhere that I really love, that I discovered over the last couple of years actually, was there's a place called Rottingdean, which is sort of between Brighton and Eastbourne.
Okay.
It's where I filmed the music video actually for The Other Side, which is the first single I released from the EP, and it's kind of like cliffs, white cliffs. Obviously the ocean's just there, but on top of the white cliffs there's also, you know, places you can go for walks, and you know, when the weather's good, it's a really, really, I don't know, just peaceful place to be. So yeah, I definitely consider taking somebody there, especially if the weather's good. Maybe not if the weather was bad, which is often the case here, but maybe during the summer.
No, perfect. Thank you. Just to kind of wrap up the episode, is that where can people find you to find out, of course, when you're performing or when you're releasing stuff, as well as, of course, saying what the EP is again and where people can find that?
Sure, yeah. The main platforms I focus on are Instagram and I'd say Spotify. Obviously, my music, when it gets released, goes out to all of the major DSPs. So if you listen to it on Apple Music or Amazon Music, it goes there as well. But I'd say in terms of my marketing, it would be Instagram and Spotify. That's where you'll find new music. It's where you'll find like where I'm promoting new singles. It's where I post information about upcoming shows, any news that might be interesting to the audience. And if you really want to be kind of kept in the loop with stuff that I'm, certain things that I may not share on my Instagram about, demos that I'm working on or things like that, you can sign up to my newsletter as well. And you can find a link for that. If you click the link in my bio, there's a link to sign up for that. So, yep, that's the best places.
No, perfect. Thank you for coming on and kind of opening into kind of your career and what's coming up and everything. Hopefully for everyone listening, it's going to be an insight and it's a different kind of story, because of course no one has the same story, so it's nice to always kind of get more and more perspectives, especially in the music industry, as no two people have the same. So no, thank you for coming on.
No, yeah, really, really grateful for the invite, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Peeking into Success podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've listened to today and would like to listen to more, go and check out the previous episodes on our channels and make sure you follow the page as well to keep up to date with the new exciting episodes that we've got upcoming for the rest of the year.